their spending. Let me give you a modern day example of this. So the truckers were upset because the Canadian government decided they wanted to pass on to the truckers the excess tax that all the other countries were beginning to charge them. And the truckers say this is not right. You can't do this. We're going to strike. And so the truckers struck in Canada. I mean, they blocked up everything. Them. They locked up the GoFundMe page and the people who were giving contributions through it. They used their executive power through the government to say that we think that this particular organization, this Teamsters Union, is creating a national security, so we're going to lock up their finances, and anyone who wants to contribute to it, we're going to lock up their finances. Ultimately, what wound up happening is truckers were put in jail. They lost their houses. They lost their truck payments. And when they were released, they're devastated. And they did this all under the executive order as a result of national security. Now, unless you think that this is not going to happen anywhere else around the world, let me give you another example. If you were to go anywhere in Europe right now, it is not legal for you to spend more than 3,000 euro in cash to purchase an item. It's not legal. We had a friend of ours who visited us not that long ago from Greece. She said, oh, they've lowered it in Greece. You cannot make a purchase of more than 300 euro in Greece legally with cash. So now what does that mean? Let's give you another scenario. Let's just say that you're a part of a party that differs with the established government. And the government has determined that because of your views, you are a danger to the natural order. You are a person who is disruptive, much like they can arrest you as a police officer if you're disturbing the peace or if you're disturbing order. The government can now decide through this executive order, by the way, that you are anti-government, and as a result thereof, you go up to the airport and you have money in your bank that you want to take an airline trip somewhere, and they simply say, we're not going to let you go anywhere. You know what I mean? You don't have the money. They won't get approved. Let's switch to FedNow services. In July of 2024, the Federal Reserve, which, by the way, for those of you who are Americans, I need to make you aware, the Federal Reserve is not a part of the United States government. Regardless of whether the fact they got federal in their name, they are not a part of the United States government. However, this organization has been given authority to create what's called a central banking system, where now all financial agencies and all transactions are being sent through a federal or clearinghouse. Again, not a federal agency, but they've been given that authority, backed by the government. And what's the purpose of me having to send everything to? Now, what they will tell you is this is for the purposes of making transactions real time. You don't have to wait. You go to the bank, you deposit your check, you wait 3 days, not with FedNow services. Everything is instantaneously all available for you. However, again, with that instrument in place comes control. Now, what's interesting is how does the Federal Reserve, who's not a government agency, get to control citizens under the authority of the United States government? Look into it. I'll just say that for you. Let's have now joined the BRAC Currency Commission. What does that mean for a global scale? That means that we are now moving into an era where all currency is going to be controlled through this BRAC Currency Commission, which will give global authority. And what it means for the United States, since the United States is not invited to be a part of it, the objective was to be able to weaken the power of the American dollar. And then ultimately, what we will see come into place is something called hyper inflation. And if you think that when we were paying $6 a dozen for a dozen of eggs was bad, just wait. Despite what current politicians say in their promise to fix the economy, There's a picture out there that's a lot larger than what's being portrayed, and I would suggest you go back and look at the executive order, look at FedNow Services, look at Brack's Currency Commission, and there's a guy that I want to leave with you. His name is Jim Rickards. This gentleman has been an advisor